All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming today. I am Alexandra Gulick, and I will be presenting the results from my Scientists in Parks project titled Status Assessment of the Hawksbill Turtle Nesting Aggregation at Buck Island Reef National Monument. Next steps for effective management. I am currently pursuing my PhD in zoology at the University of Florida's Department of Biology and Archie Clark Center for Sea Turtle Research. My doctoral work evaluates the grazing dynamics of recovering green turtle populations in Caribbean seagrass meadows. I am interested in a career as a federal marine ecologist and resource manager. Now, my SIP fellowship was with Christiansted National Historic Site in the US Virgin Islands, but my project focused on natural resources at the sister park of Buck Island Reef National Monument. The primary deliverable of my project was to conduct a baseline assessment for the critically endangered hawksbill turtle nesting aggregation at Buck Island. Now, this was with the aim of providing resource managers with analytical and written products to help adapt sea turtle management plans, to contribute figures to inform the Virgin Islands Hawksbill Recovery Action Plan, and to prepare the results for publication in a peer-reviewed journal. And today, I will be presenting results from this baseline assessment. But before I dive into those, I wanted to provide a bit of context on sea turtles in general and the park's sea turtle program. Sea turtles are marine reptiles. They are long-living, slowly maturing, and highly migratory organisms. It takes up to 30 years to complete this cycle right here and reach sexual maturity, which naturally poses a significant challenge to developing effective conservation strategies for these endangered species. Sea turtle nesting beaches, where females are most easily accessed biologists because it's the one time they are out of the water, are the primary source of data for monitoring sea turtles. Females nest approximately every 2 to 3 years, depending on their body condition. Each lays several nests, known as clutches, within a single breeding season, and often on multiple nesting beaches. Because sea turtles are long-living and slow to mature, long-term monitoring programs are essential for assessing trends in population abundance, as well as their demographics. The Buck Island Sea Turtle Research Program is a hallmark of the resource management efforts at Buck Island. It was established in 2018 with the goal of providing a framework for long-term monitoring and research of the park's sea turtle populations. Buck Island is the primary index nesting site for hawksbill turtles under US jurisdiction, providing data that's essential for assessing the status of this critically endangered species in the Western Atlantic. Buck Island also has one of the longest running sea turtle nesting programs in the world. And what makes this program so valuable is its capacity to conduct long-term saturation tagging, which means every female and nest encountered during nocturnal patrols receives a tag and is counted. For today's presentation, I will be presenting results from data collected during 1988 to 2019. Now, the approach to conducting this baseline assessment for nesting hawksbills was to evaluate changes in abundance using annual counts of females and nests and reproductive parameters across the duration of the project. Now, I'll define these reproductive parameters here in a bit, but first, I'll present the results related to abundance. Now, before we talk about overall trends in these figures, let me orient you to a couple things. On the left, we have effort-corrected counts of females observed over time, and on the right, we have effort-corrected counts of nests. Now, the points and dash lines in both figures basically represent values for females and nests within a single year. Now, you might note that there's alternating high and low years in both graphs. This is normal to see in sea turtle populations because they do not nest every year. So you're naturally going to have a peak, usually followed by a low year and then another peak. Now, the primary aspect I want you to focus on is the solid line in both figures, which is the overall trend from the model that was applied to the data. The shaded area just indicates confidence intervals. And the vertical red dash line denotes when the parks program significantly reduced its monitoring efforts due to budget reductions. Now, this pulls the overall trend down for both females and nests. And it's critical to note that this does not necessarily reflect a population decline, particularly in this figure for the females. So with that being said, what we see here is a significant recovery in both females and nests up to about 2007. Now, this was a direct result of successful eradication of invasive predators from the Buck Island, protection under the Endangered Species Act, and increased enforcement of conservation laws to eliminate poaching by humans. However, this recovery period has been followed by somewhat of a stabilization of females and a decline in nests after 2007. Now, when such a mismatch occurs between females and nests and sea turtle populations, it can indicate potentially that female productivity is decreasing, like females are producing fewer nests, and or females may be laying nests on multiple beaches, including those outside the park boundary. So although total female abundance appears to have stabilized during 2007 up to 2017, when you break that population down into females seen in previous years, which are the solid triangles here, and first-time nesters, which are open triangles, what you see is that the population over that last decade appears to be supported mostly by older females, while there is somewhat of a declining trend in new females. These trends in abundance suggest a couple of things. First, after a significant recovery, total female abundance has stabilized since about 2007. However, nest abundance and recruitment of new females to the population appears to decline after that point. But to determine if and why female recruitment and productivity may be decreasing would require evaluating population demographics. In addition, the mismatch between females and nests since 2007 also suggests that females may have increased their use of beaches beyond the park boundary. Recent satellite tracking studies of nesting females provide support of their use of nesting habitat, both in the park and on the main island of St. Croix. So that wraps up trends in abundance. So we'll move on now to trends in reproductive parameters. To quickly orient you to what these parameters are, female body size is measured as the curved length of her carapace, known as the shell. Clutch size is the total number of eggs per nest. Hatch success is the proportion of eggs in a nest that actually hatch. Emergent success is the proportion of hatchlings that reach the beach surface and emerge from the egg chamber. Now, hatchling production is the number of hatchlings produced per nest, which is determined by multiplying clutch size with emergent success. So first off, there were significant trends in female body size and clutch size over time. You can see this in the top panel, where we have annual average body size of nesting females, and in the lower panel, where we have annual average clutch size. The solid lines in both figures are the overall trend, and the dotted lines are confidence intervals. The bottom line here is that there's been a significant decline in both average female body size and clutch size at Buck Island over the last few decades. Because body size affects clutch size, this result indicates that as females are getting smaller, they are producing fewer eggs per clutch. Now, this result is no surprise, given recent studies that have shown regional declines in female growth rates and delayed maturity for 3 different sea turtle species, including hawksbills in the Western Atlantic. Fortunately, though, there was no trend in hatch success, emergent success, or hatchling production throughout the duration of the project. So despite females being smaller and producing less eggs, nests were generally producing a consistent number of hatchlings over time. However, given the impending threats of climate change on the productivity of females, as well as their nesting beaches, this is likely to change. So what does all this mean? Well, based on this assessment, I would make the following recommendations. First, and definitely foremost, determine the why behind the trends I found in this assessment. In order to diagnose and mitigate threats to turtles, as well as adapt their management plans, the factors underlying the changes in abundance and reproductive parameters I found must be identified. This can be achieved by evaluating population demographics. So for example, changes in female growth rates, senescence, which would be aging, survivorship, and clutch frequency. So for example, are females producing fewer nests per season than they were previously? Second, assess the impacts of changing shoreline dynamics on the availability and quality of nesting beach habitat for hawksbills in the park. This is particularly important as sea level rise and increased storm frequency continue to have significant impacts on park resources. Third, increased collaboration and data sharing between agencies that monitor sea turtle activity on St. Croix to improve understanding of nesting habitat use between the park and the main island. And finally, continue to raise public awareness for spillover of nesting onto St. Croix by increasing public involvement in the park sea turtle program. It truly takes a village to effectively protect endangered species like sea turtles, and public support is critical to continuing to achieve this goal in the park. And with that, I would like to thank my supervisor, Kristen Ewan, for her guidance and for making this summer very, very productive. To Zandy Hillistar, the founder of the Buck Island Sea Turtle Research Program, for taking the time out of her retirement to discuss project results. And of course, to the ESA and SIP coordinators for their support and for going above and beyond to make this summer a great experience for everybody. And finally, to my graduate advisors at the University of Florida, Karen Bjorndal and Alan Bolton, for providing feedback and sharing their extensive expertise on how to conduct sea turtle population assessments. And again, thank you, and I will take your questions.